All right. So it's like 19 degrees, snow everywhere, and instead of being miserable, I thought I'd work on my thought project, Omni Faith Studies. Now, faith without works is no faith at all. Belief without faith, well, that's no belief or faith. So let's have some imagination. And we're going to talk about a story about Jesus.
Break for our sponsor, Nagi, who is enjoying the weather.
All right. So the story goes, and I'm going to shorthand this because we're going to get to parts that are interesting. That Jesus had almost new fish and new bread and had a lot of people to feed. Now, the concept is that he raised his basket to the air in this story, and all of a sudden the baskets were full and there was plenty of bread. And a lot of people that I know will say, well, I believe in Jesus was a person, but I don't believe in the things that he done. And so they have this kind of weird sense in the faith that they claim, which is interesting. I mean, you're allowed to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not criticizing. But then I would come along and I'd go, well, what about it? Don't you believe? Well, how he raised the basket to the air and all of a sudden there was all this fish out of nowhere. And then, the basket of bread. And this is a story that I found in the Holy Bible. In more than one occasion did a fish and bread story happen. So there's the reiteration of these two stories, okay, and on separate accounts. But there are, if I remember correctly, two main stories, two main different occurrences. And it appears to me that the subject of the fish is vastly different in each story. And the subject of the bread is actually quite similar. Now, to have faith, one could say that, like manna, fish fell from the sky and filled these baskets. All right. Now, one could understand that. Then there's another tale. It's a Mother Earth tale, okay? And it speaks of when an animal knows that it's time and that it's willing to give its life source and energy to the human, it will allow the human to know that it's its time. And so, in some instances, like Native American stories, the animal will appear before your bow or will lay down for your knife, okay? Now, one could take these two different faiths and say that Jesus raised his basket to the air, and thusly the fish decided that they were willing to give their life over to mankind. Now, how does the fish end up in the basket? By the hand of God and Mother Earth. Okay, well, it could magically appear like that of a magician, right? Well, here is something that might sound just as far-fetched as a magician. There is the topic of the flying fish of Egypt. Now, if one wanted to imagine wildly, one could say Jesus, the greatest fisher of men and women and children, also had the greatest fishermen. Now, if they were all endowed with the power, like able to talk to Mother Earth and have response, could it be just as possible that flying fish came along that river and landed in their baskets? There are videos that you could find on YouTube of thousands of flying fish in this migration. And some of them fly, like sail across water. Some of them jump out of the water so far and kind of glide that they're still considered flying fish. Now, this is just an abstract thought, right, about fish. One could also say, could this have been a fish that bared many, many eggs, right? So you have a few pregnant fish that are fairly decent in size. You cut them open. There's the life source in tiny little fuel cells, right? Because we're not asking to make it a month in this story. So, one could say it's small slices of fish and fish eggs, like caviar. Now, let's talk about this here bread. Okay. This was unleavened bread, right? Which means that it did not need to be baked. All right. Concepts of bread. Well, bread is made from a certain type of material that is then bound together to make tiny bits of material one solid mass. Now, how do you eat oatmeal without it not being oatmeal? You eat the head of the stalk. So, I was kind of questioning this one, and I was thinking about their fields that they had, and how one might have an abundant amount of bread without actually having the bread. Well, if you look at the tops of grass, even in the winter, there's seed. Seed is the essence of the bread. So if you have plenty of seed, then you could grab plenty heads of bread, right? Now this is just kind of an odd, off-the-wall side concept of it, but it is what you would consider survival mode, right? If you're in survival mode and you need something, if you know the essence of what it is, you could still have it. You don't necessarily have to put it all together, throw it in an oven to still have it. So you could combine it all together, or you could just, eat the heads of the grass, or the stalks of grain, or the ends of the tree limbs. I was looking to see if I could find one to show you, but I can't right at the moment. So, we could have a multitude of different ways one could look at these things and them still be viably relevant. It still could be considered in the realm of mysticism. And so, if someone was so vastly intelligent to still give these people who were unable or incapable of realizing the finiteness of what it is they needed or how to get it, this would still be an all-impressive feat, right? So, that was just a healthy thought project for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.